Look at the water reflecting these flames. These are the home docks of the English Royal Navy at Chatham. Dozens of enemy warships have sailed straight up the Thames estuary, bypassing every coastal defense to anchor miles inland. It is June 1667. England claims control of the seas, yet a foreign fleet is comfortably operating at its front door. The raid resulted in the capture of the Crown's flagship and destruction of its heaviest vessels. It was a disaster, fueled by an English government that had stripped its own defenses to save money. Months before the attack, King Charles II faced a total collapse of the royal treasury. He was effectively bankrupt. This engraving illustrates the first of two massive domestic crises. The Great Plague of 1665 killed thousands, shutting down trade and tax collection. A year later, the Great Fire of London incinerated the city's economic center. Rebuilding left the Crown unable to pay sailors or maintain the fleet. To cut costs, Charles ordered his largest warships to be laid up at Chatham. Their rigging was removed, their guns were taken ashore, and left to skeleton crews. Despite receiving precise warnings from their intelligence network in the Netherlands, the king refused to fund a proper defense, leaving the pride of the Navy exposed. The Dutch Republic sought a decisive victory to end the war. They wanted revenge for a raid that burned 150 of their merchant ships. Admiral Michiel de Ruyter was given the task of leading the assault. He was ordered to strike at the English dockyards, a target many thought was protected by geography alone. The Medway River is a maze of shifting mudflats, normally impossible to navigate without local experience. But the Dutch hired defected English pilots. Guided by them, a strike force of 60 ships threaded the needle through the safe channels. By utilizing defectors, de Ruyter turned England's most reliable geographic shield into a fatal trap. The Dutch first struck the fort at Sheerness. Caught by surprise, the under-equipped English garrison fled almost immediately. As the Dutch moved upriver, the English response fell into a blind panic. Leaders ordered the sinking of 30 of their own ships to block the water. One final barrier remained. A massive iron chain stretched across the river at Gillingham Reach. A light-draft Dutch fireship rammed the barrier at full speed. The chain snapped, opening the path to the main dockyards. Once inside, the Dutch used fireships to target the largest vessels. The Royal James and Royal Oak were set ablaze and burned to the waterline. When the tide turned, the Dutch had destroyed or captured 13 ships of the line, dismantling the English Navy's local defense in a single afternoon. The Dutch bypassed the burning wreckage to focus on the most important ship, the Royal Charles. This vessel held immense symbolic power. It was the very ship that had carried King Charles back from exile to restore the monarchy in 1660. The flagship was nearly abandoned. To navigate the shallows, the Dutch boarding party tilted the massive hull to one side to clear the mudflats. This painting depicts the getaway. The Dutch towed the pride of the English Navy out to sea, flying the English flag upside down, while a trumpeter on deck played a mocking tune. The Dutch used the capture of the flagship to inflict a surgical strike on the reputation of the English monarchy in front of its European rivals. News of the broken chain and the stolen flagship reached London within hours, triggering a total collapse of public order. Samuel Pepys, the Secretary of the Navy Board, described the terror inside the government. He recorded that there was hardly anyone at court who did not look as if they were crying. Convinced a full-scale invasion was imminent, citizens began to flee. Many desperately buried their gold and cash in their gardens to keep it from the expected Dutch and French soldiers. The raid shattered public confidence, causing the English economy to grind to a halt as people stopped trading and focused entirely on survival. The disaster left Charles II with no leverage. He was forced to sign a peace treaty on Dutch terms just weeks later. This golden goblet was presented to de Ruyter by the Dutch government. It represents the immense pride the Republic took in their successful raid. The raid exposed systemic failures in how the fleet was managed and funded. In the following years, the Navy Board used these lessons to rebuild the fleet and construct a new line of forts farther down the river. A physical piece of that failure still exists in the Netherlands. This is the transom of the Royal Charles, featuring the English royal crest, kept as a trophy in an Amsterdam museum. The raid remains a physical reminder of how quickly a major naval power can fall when it relies on geography instead of readiness.